In this video, I'm going to run through 3 sample problems that are the type of problems that you'll see in exercise 1 of the interactive citation workbook and the online workstation on Lexis Plus. So here we go. You'll notice that on one side of the screen, you can see the 3 sample problems, and on the other side of the screen, you'll see my account in the online Blue Book. It's the same as the print Blue Book. Whichever version you have, print or online, you just want to have that with you as you go through the video so you can see how I'm using the book as we go through. So for case names, the strategy we're going to follow is first to eliminate and then to abbreviate. And so the first thing we're going to do is eliminate those things that the rules tell us to eliminate. So for problem 1, we've got Sarah Christine Titchick, plaintiff appellant versus City of Bloomington, defendant appellee. And so we're going to consult both the white pages and the blue pages for this answer. So we'll start with the blue pages. No, let's start with the white pages since it's more comprehensive. So we'll scroll down to Rule 10, which is cases. And first you'll see these examples where it walks you through citation of cases and it shows you the different elements of a case citation. And then it gives you this chart that tells you where you can go for specific rules on specific parts of the citation. In the interactive citation workbook and workstation, the first 3 exercises are meant to help you build your citation skills for case names. So the first one is case names. Exercise 2 is case location, which is reporters and other sources. And then exercise 3 is court and date. And then finally, exercise 4 is parallel citations, which is a specific kind of citation that you'll learn about later after you get the basic case citation. All right, so Sarah Christine Titchick. So the first thing we want to do is look for rules that tell us what things to keep and what things to omit. And we're going to find that in 10.2. And so we go through 10.2 to see if there's anything about people's names that tells us what to eliminate. So 10.2.1 gives us general rules for case names. And so first is actions and parties cited. And if you scroll down, once you get to, here we go, F, G. So G covers given names or initials, and it tells you to omit given names or initials of individuals, but not in the name of a business firm or where a party's surname is abbreviated. Here we've got just a generic full name, not a business name, and there's no abbreviated surname. So we're going to get rid of Sarah Christine and just, and just keep Titchick. And then there are no more individual names in there. As I was scrolling down, I scrolled past subsection F, which talks about geographical terms. And so we have City of Bloomington, which is a geographical term, and it tells you with regard to city, omit city of, county of, village of, township of, and the like, unless the expression begins a party name. Well, this does begin a party name. City of introduces City of Bloomington. And so here we see that when we have a City of New York as a party name, we retain City of New York. So we're going to hold on to that as well. I'm going to space over there because we have some other stuff we have to think about. Actually, as I go along, why don't I get rid of some of this stuff? What? So we'll cross that out. We're going to keep City of Bloomington. So the next thing we need to figure out, let me go ahead and delete that for now. The next thing we figure out is what to do with plaintiff appellant. And so if we scroll back to the beginning, of course, I know generally where all of these things are because I've used the Blue Book for a long time. You will eventually get a sense of where these different rules are. Actions and parties listed. I think this is what I'm looking for. Party listed on each side. Omit all the real party. Nope, not what I'm looking for. Procedural phrases. Our sort partner name. Hold on. So what I'm looking for is subsection E, descriptive terms. And so it gives you examples like administrator, appellee, executor, etc., and tells you to eliminate those for a party that's already named. So if the only label you have is the descriptive term, you leave it. But here we have names for these parties beyond the descriptive terms. So we're going to get rid of the descriptive terms. So plaintiff appellant and defendant appellee, we're going to get rid of. And then that leaves us with versus, and you can see from all of the examples at the beginning of cases, and really all the examples throughout, that we're going to get rid of we're going to get rid of versus and replace it with V period. Whoops, rid of that. Okay. So what we're left with is Titchik versus City of Bloomington as the case name. In this exercise, because we don't have full citations, we just have a part of a citation. We're not going to put a period at the end of it. But for a case name, we are going to italicize it. Now, you'll notice here in the white pages, they're not italicized. But if you go to the blue pages, it will tell you that, where we go, case names, including procedural phrases introducing case names, should be italicized or underscored. The online workstation is looking for italics for consistency because that's what most readers tend to prefer. And so there you go, Titchik v. City of Bloomington. Okay, now let's go down to the estate of Mary Saunders. So again, we're going to go to Rule 10. We're going to start with the white pages. Case names. And here we see this rule for, hold on. I'm going to scroll down through here. We have procedural phrases. So it tells you to abbreviate on the relation of, for the use of, on behalf of, etc., to ex rel, and abbreviate in the matter of, petition of, application of, to in re, and then to omit all procedural phrases except the first. And so as you scroll down here, you see a number of different circumstances. You've got the ex rel examples, which basically means on behalf of, but then you've also got some examples for accounting of, estate of, and will of. So this is an estate of example. This one does not have a versus as part of it, so it's not a state of something versus another party. It's just a state of a single name. So we know that we're going to retain a state of, and we know that there are some other things we need to get rid of. We remember that we get rid of Mary because that is part of someone's name. So we get rid of their given name. As we scroll through 10.2.1, we see that subsection D says that we're going to omit the, So we'll get rid of that. And that leaves you with estate of Sanders. Now, the next thing that you need to do is abbreviate according to um, table 6. And so we've eliminated, and now we're going to abbreviate. In the first citation, Titchik versus City of Bloomington, there wasn't anything that we needed to abbreviate. But here in Estate of Sanders, we're going to check T6 and we're going to find out that there is something we need to abbreviate. T6. So when we scroll through the list, we see estate is in there and it's abbreviated EST. So we're going to get rid of that. And then what we're left with is estate of, whoops, Sanders. Microsoft Word doesn't like that, but Microsoft Word doesn't get to decide here. And then remember, we're going to we're going to italicize it. And there we have it, estate of Sanders. Okay. Okay, one more. Eleanor and Kenneth Van Buskirk, petitioners versus Kerry Canadian Mines, limited respondent. So first we're going to eliminate and then we're going to abbreviate. So we have something we haven't seen before, which is multiple parties within a party name. So we're going to go back to case names. I'm going to scroll down. And we see that there is a rule for applications and parties cited. And so it tells you that you are to omit all parties other than the first listed on each side. So we're only going to include the first listed party, which is Eleanor Van Buskirk. So we're going to get rid of and Kenneth under this rule. And then remember that 1021G tells us to get rid of all first names. So now we're going to get rid of Eleanor also. We're going to be left with Van Buskirk. 1021E told us to get rid of descriptive terms. So we're going to get rid of petitioners. And then remember, all of the examples show us that we should abbreviate verses to V period. And then we've got Kerry Canadian Mines Limited respondent. That's another descriptive term, so we're going to get rid of that. All right, so now we have eliminated. The next thing we need to do is abbreviate. So again, we're going to go to T6. And we're going to see what is in there. Now, obviously, specific people's names aren't going to be in there, so we wouldn't expect Van Buskirk to be in the list, and of course it's not if you look. Kerry also is probably not going to be in there. Canadian is not in there, but there's another one that we'll look at for that in just a second. Well, we can look there now. For geographical terms, there's nothing that suggests that, whoops, that's Australia. There's nothing that suggests that we're going to abbreviate Canada or Canadian there. Just like for the US states and the cities, notice that for that first one, Bloomington wasn't in there. And so that's why we don't abbreviate Bloomington. So let's go back. Mines is not in there, but you never know. Sometimes the list is wacky and it changes from edition to edition. So just to be sure, we're going to check, and Mines is not in there, just as we suspected. And then we're going to look for limited. And we see that it is abbreviated. So we're going to change that to LTD. So that's going to leave us with Van Buskirk v. Kerry Canadian Mines Limited. And then again, we're going to italicize that. Whoops. And there you have it. So that's the process. Eliminate and then abbreviate. You're going to have a little trial and error the first couple of times. One of the things that will help you a lot is that in the workbook, there are hints for each of these. So you don't have to sort of flail around and figure out which rules to look at. The hints are going to direct you to the rules that you need to look at, which is going to make it easier to construct those citations before you enter them into the workstation. If you make a mistake in the workstation, the hints that clue you in on what you need to correct will pop up, the hints for that part of the citation. All right, good luck.